Well, it's 2021 and what an interesting start of the year we have had. We were going over the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. We had ended up in Book 9, and I wanted to talk with you today about section 40, which I find a really very interesting one. Either the gods have power or they do not. Now, if they have no power, why pray? If they do have power, why not pray for their gift of freedom from all worldly fear, desire, or regret, rather than for the presence or absence of this or that? Certainly, if the gods can cooperate with men, they can cooperate to these ends. But you might say, the gods have put these things in my own power. Is it not then better to use your own power and freedom rather than show a servile and supine concern for what you cannot control? And who told you that the gods do not help us even to the ends which lie within our own power? At any rate, pray about these things and you will see. One man prays, "How can I sleep with that woman?" Your prayer is, "How can I lose the desire to sleep with her?" Another prays, "How can I be rid of that man?" You pray, "How can I stop wanting to be rid of him?" Another, "How can I save my little child?" You, "How can I learn not to fear his loss?" And so on. Give all your prayers this turn and observe what happens. I don't really want to turn this into a religious discussion about prayer, but I think the concept illustrated here by Marcus Aurelius can be applied very well to our everyday thoughts. And that's what really concerns me, because that's why I find Stoicism so fascinating, because you can really use it as a tool to change the way you think. And when you can effectively change the way you think, then sometimes you can also feel a lot better than you may think you can feel. What I particularly like in this section is the way in which he treats the changing of thoughts. I mean, again, in his context, it's prayer. You could pray to the gods or God or whatever to make things such that you get to sleep with this one woman, or you could pray to remove your desire to sleep with her. And I think that is a very nice illustration of changing your thoughts. And it reminded me a bit of Epictetus, one of the chapters in the Enchiridion that we have gone over quite a while ago now, which is the chapter where Epictetus says everything has two handles, one by which something may be born and one by which it may not, right? Here too, I think you can approach things from those two perspectives. You could say, or you could pray, or you could dream about or desire, let's take something relatively innocent, that you were to have a better paying job. Well, you can do everything within your control to try and make that happen, but at the end of the day, it may not fully be up your control. It might not be fully under your control. Right? A Stoic would say, well, you do have to do everything you can, everything within your power to then obtain that job. But what you could also do, and this is not a statement meant to end ambition, but you could also say, or I can try to learn to be happy with what I have. This being a pen channel, I have brought up this example before, but I see around me, and I say this without judgment, I see around me a lot of people, I mean digitally, online, everywhere, who purchase pens simply to purchase pens. Well, then your desire can be that I wish this and I want to buy that and I want that, or your desire could also be I wish to be happy with what I have and actually use those pens, as opposed to buying a pen and not inking it up for 2 years because I have too many pens. Again, I'm saying this without judgment. I'm just saying, like I've seen it all at this point. So, if we can change our thoughts in such a way that we approach life a little differently, if we can change our thoughts in such a way that instead of desiring to have more, we learn to value what we have, instead of desiring and dreaming to achieve things that we may not achieve, we learn to accept what we do have and value that. If we can do those things, then I think that can be a great stress reliever. Because now, instead of reaching for what you may never achieve, instead, you accept what you have. And I think it applies to a lot of things, right? It's not just material possessions, or in the case of the lady he mentions here, let's say passionate endeavors. But I really like the other two examples as well. Another prayer is, how can I be rid of that man? You pray, how can I stop wanting to be rid of him? You can also learn to accept people for who they are. Obviously within reason. Some people do not deserve that respect. But in general, I'm not talking about extreme cases. People in abusive relationships should not learn to accept the abuser. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, again, think of smaller examples. Think of a work colleague that you absolutely despise, right? Or you can pray for the removal of that person, or you can try to learn to deal with that person better. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think that is a very different approach that may in the end work out better, because you're learning to accept someone more, again, within reason. That's within your control. But the removal of another factor is not necessarily within your control. That's an important thing to remember. I also like this one. How can I save my little child? You, how can I learn not to fear his loss? That is a hard one, right? But approaching life that way, we have had another discussion about that a while ago. This reminds me also of Epictetus and the idea of, if you have, I think his example was a favorite cup, well, one day it may break, right? So if you look at that cup every time you use it and think, well, it is nice for now, then should at some point it break or get destroyed or get lost or whatever, then the shock will be a little less. Now, it's a bit of a leap to compare a cup to a child, but the basic thought is the same. You can learn to prepare yourself for certain eventualities. And again, I'm not saying that it is easy, but what I am saying is, I think such an approach will make your life more livable, will make it easier to deal with certain setbacks. And on the whole, by changing your thoughts, which you can always do, they're your thoughts, you always have that control. By changing your thoughts, you can change the way you approach life, and as a result, you can change the way you feel. And I think you may feel a lot better if you can learn to do that kind of thinking more effectively. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that takes a lot of practice. But remember, that's what Stoicism is about. Progress. And progress is enough. I hope that this was useful. I shall return soon with more talk about Stoicism. Bye.